someone says, hey, I'm trying to be gluten-free, I don't want to eat this, they might be met with, well, why? You don't have celiac disease. Or they might be met with, you shouldn't be eating that. You said you didn't want to eat any gluten. So there's a problem with chronic illness and socializing and food choices when people start holding others accountable for the pain they're going through. And I think that it should be really a top priority for someone who is a supporter, a friend of someone who's going through chronic illness to just listen when they're going through that experience and not hold them accountable to go to a doctor, to do these things. People with chronic illness are the people who don't want chronic illness the most. So when people come up with solutions that are, it's like, go to a doctor, people with chronic illness are like, I've been to 40 already, okay? Like, give me some novel information here. So, and again, the people who are going through it are the people who want it the least. So when they're met with suggestions or, action-based reactions, I think that people feel even more isolated. They feel more abnormal in those situations. And I think just for the person receiving the information, the best thing you can do is just listen and be that space for them to and just hold it. Just hold that that discomfort, hold that feeling with them. Because no one reacts well, again, when we're told what to do, when we're given instructions and unsolicited advice. So I think that's just really important to say too. And this, again, experience of going out to eat and doing all of these activities is definitely a challenge for people with chronic illness. And that can also influence the actual food behaviors, which was, the title of the episode. How do others influence our food behaviors? I think that when you're in those situations, you also are more likely then, if someone says, you're not celiac, why aren't you eating gluten? To just eat gluten then, right? And that person's input and social stigmatization of you actually influences our food behaviors because we want to fit in. We're humans. It's a huge, huge need of ours is to fit in, to not feel ostracized, to not feel isolated. And who's the person who's going to be sick then with, stomach pain if they're gluten intolerant? Who's going to be sick with brain fog after? The actual person who's sick, right? So I think, or who made that choice, not the person who was recommending that choice. So I think what is really important in these situations is always checking in with yourself and just taking back your agency around your food choices, regardless of the fact that it's really challenging from a social standpoint because a lot of these things are pretty taboo. And the experience of having chronic illness is not felt by other people. Like you said, it's something that just you're going through and it feels different for other people, even though a lot of us are going through it. So I think that's just so important to still kind of stand your ground in those situations too.
Yeah. And I see it a lot with people that, which is I think a lot of our culture is that people pleasing tendency. And there's this feeling of, I don't want someone to feel uncomfortable or I don't want to have to deal with whatever pushback I'm getting. So let me just please everyone else for this brief moment. But then that even if that means I have to deal with this physically or emotionally, wherever your symptoms are showing up for the next couple hours, days, week. So I think what this kind of comes back to too is being able to prioritize yourself and, really put yourself first over other people's feelings, which is much easier said than done. But I think that's kind of what this comes back to, along with many other components of your health journey too.
I need to reiterate what you just said because it's so important. Put your health before other people's feelings. This is so hard for people. So I know that we're giving this advice of just stand your ground and how do you do that? But I think we can come up with also some more interesting or unique strategies for that. I often say when I use a mirroring strategy with my clients. I use two strategies. One I call the mirroring strategy and one I call the confusion strategy. The mirroring strategy is if someone had said, Nicki, are you even celiac? I just have people ask the same question back. Are you celiac? And just ask the same question back and see how they feel when you ask the same question back. Because sometimes it's hard to set like really hard boundaries and sometimes it's socially inappropriate. Like, you can't talk to me like that. I'm gluten intolerant. I don't want people to feel like they have to explain the science to anyone. You don't have to justify yourself and how you're eating. So sometimes you can be a little playful with it. Yeah, it's a little gaslighty, but if it gets people off your trail, I think that's okay, off your tail. the mirroring strategy is one completely fake strategy that I have people use. And the confusion strategy is a strategy that my sister came up with when, this is just unbelievable that I'm saying this on a podcast, but so she will, let's say she has if she ordered she had a coffee maker and the coffee maker came in and it was broken when she actually got it. And the company was unyielding to give her the return. She literally used it for like 1 day and it broke. And it was obviously a manufacturer defect. So she called them and they were just saying, we can't do this return. This is no returns, whatever it was. And she would just say basically like, what? And act confused until they acquiesced. So I think that what a strategy could be, again, in that situation of, Nicki, do you even have celiac disease? You can just be like, what? I don't know what you're talking. What do you mean? I think that applying a little bit of playfulness, confusion, throwing people off your trail a little bit, I think those are fine strategies too. It doesn't always have to be this hardcore boundary setting. Don't talk to me like that. You don't know the science. Like there's times when I've definitely am bold and feel comfortable doing that. And then when I'm not feeling well and I start getting badgered and my resources are low already, I just don't want to deal with it. So that's when I apply a little humor.